It was the 4th of July, a night meant for celebration. Raoul stood with a firework in hand, ready to light it, completely unaware that someone was approaching from behind. Suddenly, a single gunshot pierced the festive atmosphere. The noise of the party momentarily drowned it out, but the celebration was abruptly over. Raoul had vanished. At first, no one knew what had happened. His family grew increasingly worried when he stopped answering his phone. Days turned into weeks, with no sign of him. But when the police began their investigation, they uncovered a twisted tale of jealousy, revenge, and a meticulously planned crime hidden behind a facade of fireworks. Why was Raoul targeted, and who was behind it? The truth would take weeks to unravel, and when it finally emerged, it shocked everyone. Lauren W. Beale was born on March 12, 1997, in Dothan, Alabama. Her mother worked as a stripper, and little was known about her father. What was evident, however, was the tumultuous relationship between her parents, filled with frequent arguments. Due to this instability, Lauren was primarily raised by her maternal grandmother and her aunt, Erin, who was only 11 years older than her. This close age gap made Erin feel more like an older sister, and the two grew up side by side, sharing everything. With their grandmother's support, they formed a close-knit family. From a young age, Lauren stood out with her striking blonde hair, blue eyes, and undeniable charm. Her confidence and intelligence made her popular among her peers. Family members recall that even as a child, she understood the power of her beauty and charisma. She dreamed of becoming a model and living a glamorous life filled with fame and fortune. However, as she entered her teenage years, her personality began to shift. Once easygoing, she became rebellious and strong-willed, skipping school and resisting any form of discipline. At 16, Lauren had an encounter that would change her life. While walking through the streets of Dothan, a man approached her, captivated by her beauty. He claimed to be an agent in the entertainment industry, offering to help her break into modeling. The idea thrilled her, but there was one problem: she was still underage. Undeterred, he handed her his business card and told her to call him when she turned 18. Excited, Lauren rushed home to share the news with her Aunt Erin. Instead of celebrating, Erin expressed deep concern, warning Lauren not to trust the man, suspecting his intentions were not innocent. But Lauren, headstrong as ever, brushed off the warning. She was determined to call him when she turned 18, and she did. Lauren's 18th birthday was a joyful occasion for her family. They celebrated at a well-known restaurant, Applebee's, enjoying dinner and karaoke. She was all smiles, affectionate, and happy. And her loved ones had no idea this would be the last time they would see her for a long while. The next day, she was gone. Her family, frantic with worry, searched everywhere for her. Though she had always been rebellious, disappearing without a word was unlike her. Panic set in until they received a text from Lauren herself. Calm and composed, she announced her plans to fly to Las Vegas that very day with the agent she had met 2 years earlier. She had made up her mind to enter the adult film industry. In 2015, the adult film industry was booming, bringing in billions each year. New faces were constantly sought after, and the pay ranged from $200 to $1,500 per shoot. Coming from a family with financial struggles, the prospect of making a living off her looks was too tempting for Lauren to resist. Upon arriving in Las Vegas, she needed a new identity, something memorable, bold, and powerful. Inspired by the allure of gold, she incorporated it into her stage name, becoming Aubrey Gold. Her agency wasted no time transforming her, fixing her teeth, styling her hair, and smoothing out small scars on her face. She was given designer clothing, luxurious shoes, and dazzling accessories. Now polished and ready, she entered the industry at full speed. In just 6 months, she filmed 32 videos and worked with some of the biggest studios in the business. However, the pressures of the adult film industry were intense, and many performers turned to substances to cope. Aubrey Gold was no exception. Initially, she started with marijuana, but after 2 years, it no longer sufficed. She soon turned to alcohol and harder substances. At first, her habits went unnoticed, but as her addiction worsened, studios began to take notice. She started showing up late to shoots, disappearing into the bathroom to use drugs, and sometimes arriving so intoxicated she could barely stand. Productions were delayed, footage became unusable, and soon every major studio blacklisted her. In 2017, her agency took legal action against her for breach of contract, stripping her of all royalties. With no future left in the industry, Aubrey made the decision to terminate her contract and walked away with nothing, broken and without a clear path forward. She reverted to being Lauren WBL and returned to her grandmother and aunt's home in Alabama. Despite everything, they welcomed her back with open arms, determined to help her get her life back on track. Lauren took a job as a waitress at a local restaurant, where she met a young man her family described as kind and caring. By the time Lauren turned 20, she was pregnant with his child. Excited for their future, the couple embraced the pregnancy with joy. For Lauren, motherhood was the push she needed to change her life. She grew closer to her family, continued working, and most importantly, she completely quit drugs. After a healthy pregnancy, she gave birth to a baby girl named Alice. For a while, life seemed to be on the right path, and her past in the adult film industry felt like a distant memory. But soon, an old enemy returned, her addiction. Her relapse raised concerns, particularly from her boyfriend's mother, who didn't believe Lauren was fit to raise a child in her condition. She reported Lauren to Child Protective Services, and before long, custody of Alice was taken away permanently. Losing her daughter broke Lauren. Instead of fighting to turn things around, she sank deeper into addiction, convinced she was a failure. Drugs became her only escape, but her story was far from over. In a small town like Dothan, everyone knew everyone, including Lauren, now going by Aubrey, and Shane Parker, a man with a dangerous reputation. He claimed to have served in the military, but had become a thief and hitman upon returning home. Lauren became obsessed with the idea of meeting him, enchanted by his notorious reputation. By late 2019, she finally got her chance in the most ironic of places, the Dothan County Jail. Lauren had been arrested and sentenced to 45 days for a minor offense, and Shane was also behind bars at the time. While locked up, the two exchanged letters and messages through other inmates. When Lauren was released, she was determined to wait for Shane, and when he finally got out, they immediately started a chaotic and destructive relationship. Her Aunt Erin begged her to leave him, even forbidding her from bringing him to the house, but Lauren didn't care. She and Shane spent every day together, using drugs and committing petty crimes. Before long, the couple moved to Graceville, just 10 miles from Dothan. There, Shane introduced Lauren to Jeremy Peters, a man 20 years their senior who owned a successful construction company in Florida. However, his business was a front for drug trafficking. Shane became Jeremy's right-hand man, and Lauren followed along, spending most of her time at his house. Their involvement in crime was no secret. Shane bragged about being a contract killer, claiming he would take a life for as little as $5,000. Rather than being disturbed, Lauren laughed and encouraged his boasts, saying she would join him if the opportunity arose. It was only a matter of time before those words turned into reality. In early 2020, Shane showed up at Jeremy's house with a man named Raul Gwen. Raul had lived a nomadic life, born in Mexico and raised in Texas. He had a family, a former wife, and 3 children waiting for him back home. He worked in construction, traveling to support them. Raul met Shane in the Jackson County Jail while serving time for an expired vehicle registration. Shane befriended him, promising that his good friend Jeremy would offer him a job once they were both out. Unaware of the danger he was stepping into, Raul accepted the offer. On July 26, 2020, Raul's story took a grim turn. His family filed a missing person report with the Jackson County authorities after days without contact. His daughter, determined to find her father, began her own investigation on Facebook. It was there she found a photo of her father with a blonde woman from Alabama, Lauren WBL, the internationally known Aubrey Gold. This discovery did not sit well with her. What was her father doing with a former adult film star? Determined to get answers, she called Shane Parker, who claimed he hadn't seen Raul and that he had left some time ago. When she asked if Raul had been staying with him, Shane's response only deepened her fears. He told her Raul had gone back to Texas, but she knew that was a lie. The last time she spoke to her father, he had said he still had work to do in Jackson before visiting. With that, she went to the authorities, reporting that her last conversation with her father had been on July 4th, when he planned to celebrate with friends she was convinced were Shane Parker and Lauren WBL. Before leaving the case in the hands of the police, she provided them with crucial information: her father's prized possession, his Mercedes-Benz truck, and its license plate number. Days later, authorities found the vehicle in a repair shop. The state of the truck raised suspicions. Raul's beloved Mercedes was in terrible condition, stripped for parts. The shop owner revealed that the names on the service record were Shane Parker and Lauren WBL. The investigation now had a direction, and officers tracked down Lauren and Shane for questioning. Separated for their interrogations, Lauren appeared visibly unsettled. Both she and Shane gave suspiciously similar and vague responses, insisting they had last seen Raul in early July. They claimed Raul had been having issues with his truck and wanted to get rid of it. Shane said he had offered to buy it for a small sum, intending to fix it up as a gift for Lauren. The police had their doubts, but had no choice but to let them go, as there were no new leads. The case grew cold until August 23rd, nearly 2 months after Raul's disappearance. A man named Joseph Bells walked into the police station requesting an urgent meeting with investigators. He had been Jeremy Peters' best friend for 25 years and knew Lauren WBL well, though he had never trusted Shane Parker. Joseph revealed that he knew where Raul's body was buried. A few days prior, while drinking with Jeremy, he had been led into the woods, where Jeremy pointed to the ground and said, "I trust you." Joseph saw the site where Raul's body was buried. Terrified for his own safety and that of his family, Joseph decided to report the information to the police. The next day, authorities launched a large-scale operation, led by Joseph, to the burial site. On August 24, 2020, law enforcement officers, forensic specialists, and cadaver dogs arrived. It didn't take long for the dogs to signal the exact spot Joseph had indicated. The area had been carefully concealed, but as they unearthed the remains, they found a decomposing body wrapped in a University of Florida blanket, secured tightly with layers of duct tape. The remains were immediately transported to the medical examiner's office, where the autopsy confirmed the worst fears. The body belonged to Raul. The autopsy revealed he had been executed with a single gunshot to the back of the head, indicating a calculated murder. Evidence pointed directly at 3 individuals. Arrest warrants were issued for Jeremy Peters and Lauren WBL, while Shane Parker was already in jail on unrelated charges. Authorities secured a search warrant for Jeremy's house, hoping to find further evidence. What they uncovered was shocking. A large collection of University of Florida memorabilia, the same type of blanket Raul had been wrapped in, and burnt fabric matching that used to cover the body, along with multiple plastic barrels identical to those at the burial site. Lauren was quickly located at her Aunt Erin's house in Dothan, Alabama, and arrested on the spot. Soon after, she was extradited to Florida as a suspect in a murder investigation. Initially, she denied everything, lying and deflecting, insisting she had no involvement. But it was clear that neither Lauren WBL nor her alter ego Aubrey Gold were hardened criminals. They were simply 2 lost versions of the same girl. Under pressure, both eventually shattered. Finally, Lauren broke down and revealed the truth. The mastermind behind the killing was Shane Parker. The motive? Jealousy. Lauren admitted that she and Raul had been intimate, and when Shane found out, his rage consumed him. On the night of July 4, 2020, Lauren, Shane, and Jeremy were drinking together when Shane revealed his plan to kill Raul. Jeremy played along, telling Shane that Raul was affiliated with a dangerous international gang. Whether Jeremy truly believed this or simply saw an opportunity to eliminate a perceived threat was unclear, but it didn't matter. The lie sealed Raul's fate. In reality, Raul had no gang affiliations. He was an ordinary man and a hardworking father. But by the time the accusations were made, the decision had already been made. That night, Lauren was tasked with luring Raul to Jeremy's house under the pretense of celebrating Independence Day. Jeremy himself would not be there, knowing better than to be present when things got messy. Raul, completely unsuspecting, accepted the invitation and arrived in good spirits. At some point during the night, Lauren handed him fireworks. Excited, Raul turned his attention to the display, lighting them up and watching the sky in awe. He never saw Shane coming. As Raul focused on the fireworks, Shane crept up behind him and pulled the trigger, a single shot to the back of the head. Raul collapsed instantly. Lauren nearly fainted from shock. The next thing she remembered was waking up the following morning to the sight of Shane and Jeremy loading Raul's body into a truck. But how could investigators trust her after all the lies? Lauren provided them with something concrete, a location where she claimed the murder weapon had been cut in half and discarded in a storm drain in Dothan. Authorities searched the area, skeptical of whether her story would check out, but they found it. Half of the gun was exactly where she said it would be. She had been telling the truth. With this damning evidence, prosecutors built their case. Shane Parker was charged with second-degree murder, while Jeremy Peters, having orchestrated the killing under false pretenses, was also charged with second-degree murder. As the primary offender, Lauren WBL, knowing she had no chance of walking away unscathed, agreed to a plea deal. She testified against Shane and Jeremy in exchange for a reduced sentence of 10 years. During the investigation, authorities uncovered evidence that Shane had been physically, emotionally, and sexually abusive toward her for years. She had been trapped in his control, but despite her fear, her testimony sealed the case. In October 2021, the verdicts were handed down. Jeremy Peters was sentenced to 20 years in a Florida state prison, while Shane Parker received life in prison without the possibility of parole. As for Lauren, her fate had already been decided. Now 27 years old, she remains incarcerated, set for release in 2031. It was far from the future she had envisioned at 18 when she left home chasing fame and fortune in the adult film industry. Instead, she found herself trapped in a world of addiction, crime, and violence, left to face the consequences of her choices. Thank you for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into gripping true crime stories from Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.